I started this project with a heavy metal sign that was 28 by 7 and actually thrifted it from the Goodwill for $1.99. I then picked up one of these little Scarecrow welcome signs from the Dollar Tree, an assortment of paint colors, and I will list all the items that I used below in the description. And I picked up some letters from Michael's. I also picked up this really cute orange and white polka dot ribbon. This project is super easy. It's basically just painting and gluing. All I did was put a coat of paint on the front side of the sign. I'm going to be using some Podge as my glue, and all I did was take the ribbon and stretch it the length of the sign and then cut it off. I did this for both sides and both ends, and so when you're done, you'll have 4 pieces of ribbon. Then using your Mod Podge and a paintbrush, you're just going to paint along the edge of the sign. Then take the ribbon that you cut for that side of the sign and simply place it along the edge using the Mod Podge as your glue. And once you're done, the ribbon makes a cute little frame around the sign. Now choosing 3 fall colors of your choice, you're going to paint the letters. I'm using acrylic paint, and I chose a brick red, an orange spice, and a shamrock green. Once the letters were painted and dried, I wanted to give them a whitewash appearance, so I ended up using some off-white acrylic paint. Using a small amount of paint, I used a super wet paintbrush, and then all I did was just dab it in the paint and then take most of the paint off. And as you can see, I just kind of brushed it haphazardly along the edges of the letters to give it that whitewash look. I'm using these burlap leaves that I found at the Dollar Tree to become the backdrop for my letters. I'm using 3 of them, and once again I'm using my off-white paint, and I'm going to just put a light coat of paint on one side. I randomly painted the leaves with the paint. I wasn't fussy, and I didn't want them to have a perfect look, so they're kind of blotchy, but when they dry looking kind of like a vintage leaf. And now all we're going to do is disassemble the welcome sign and just going to remove the head of the Scarecrow. Once he's free from the sign, we're then going to use the polka dot ribbon and we're going to embellish his little collar. I used my hot glue gun and placed a little dab underneath one end of his collar. I placed the end of my ribbon against the hot glue and folded it over, and that was my starting point. I placed a small amount of glue on the edge of his collar and then just ran the polka dot ribbon along the very edge. So when you're done, the little Scarecrow matches the edges of your sign. To finish off the collar, you're just going to place another dab of glue on the underside of his collar, and then snipping off a little bit of your ribbon, you're just going to fold it over so that you have a nice finished edge. Once that was complete, I just kind of folded the edges a little bit to mimic the original folds in his collar. I'm using 3 flowers that I'm snipping off of some bunches that I found at the Dollar Tree. Using my glue gun, I'm attaching them to his hat. I'm also going to add a little bow accent, so I'm just taking a piece of the original polka dot ribbon, about a 4-inch piece, and using my glue gun, I'm folding in each ends just to make a simple bow. Once the glue cools, I just pull out the little loops so it resembles a bow. And then all I do is, using my hot glue gun, I just attach it in the little empty spot in the top of his hat. Now it's time to assemble all the pieces together. Before I begin gluing, I always like to lay everything out first so that I can kind of get my spacing and I'm happy with how it's going to look. So I gathered up my leaves, my letters, and the little scarecrow face. I first placed down a leaf along with a letter, then the scarecrow face, and then I continued on with the other leaves and letters, making sure that it all looked balanced. To complete my project, I used my glue gun and attached all the pieces in place. When making this project, if you don't have a metal sign or a piece of wood, you could use a thick piece of cardstock. Something heavy enough so it could hold the weight of what you're gluing onto it. And the best part is, if you don't have a scarecrow, you could glue on a pumpkin or a little wreath or even the letter A to just fill in the word fall. It's so fun, you can change it up and make it your own and personalize it. I hope you had fun making this project with me. I always have a blast when we hang out together. And if you haven't yet subscribed, just click that little red subscribe button below. And if you want to be notified every time I upload a new video, click the little bell that's next to it. I'll see you soon and have a great day. Bye, everybody.